2 million years ago, if you were a human ancestor standing on the African savanna, you were not the predator. You were lunch. Leopards dragged our ancestors up into trees at night. Hyenas picked off the stragglers. Saber-toothed cats considered us an easy, slow, clawless snack. Fossil evidence from sites like Swartkrans Cave in South Africa shows skulls of early hominins punctured by exactly the spacing of a leopard's canine teeth. We weren't just occasionally hunted. For millions of years, we were regular prey animals on the menu of nearly everything bigger than us. And yet, somehow, that same fragile, clawless, slow-running primate ended up reshaping the entire planet. We drove other apex predators to extinction. We changed the climate. We hunted mammoths into oblivion and turned wolves into pets. Today, humans kill more large animals in a single afternoon than lions kill in a year. So, how did we get from cowering in trees to becoming, by almost any measure, the most dangerous animal that has ever existed? Let's trace exactly how that transformation happened. To understand how unlikely our rise actually was, you have to understand just how badly equipped humans were for survival, physically speaking. We have no claws worth mentioning, no fangs, no fur thick enough to survive a cold night exposed. Our top running speed tops out around 15 to 20 miles per hour for short bursts. A house cat could outrun us without trying. Compare that to a lion, which can hit 50 miles per hour, or a cheetah, which can nearly double our best sprint. In a straight fight or a straight chase, almost every predator on the savanna had us beat. Early hominins like Australopithecus, walking upright roughly 4 million years ago, were around 4 feet tall and probably weighed less than 70 pounds. That's not an ambush predator. That's an ambush snack. So, evolution had to find another way to keep us alive. And the answer wasn't strength. It was something almost invisible on a skeleton: cooperation, and the brains to organize it. The turning point starts roughly 2.6 million years ago, with something deceptively simple: sharp rocks. Early hominins in what's now Ethiopia began deliberately striking stones together to create cutting edges, what archaeologists call Oldowan tools, named after the Olduvai Gorge site, where they were first discovered in large numbers. These weren't sophisticated weapons. They were crude flakes, barely more advanced than a broken rock. But a sharp flake meant you could cut into a carcass a lion had already killed and abandoned, stripping meat and marrow before hyenas showed up. Suddenly, an animal with no claws had a claw it could pick up and put down. Then came fire. And this is arguably the single biggest turning point in the entire story. Controlled fire use likely began somewhere between 1 million and 1.5 million years ago, based on burnt bone and ash deposits found at sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Fire did 3 things simultaneously. It kept predators away at night, finally letting early humans sleep without a leopard picking them off one by one. It let us cook food, which made calories dramatically easier to digest, which in turn helped fuel the energy-hungry growth of bigger brains. And it gave early humans a tool no other animal on the savanna could replicate or fight back against. Then, around 500,000 years ago, spears show up. Actual wooden hunting spears, with evidence found at sites like Schöningen in Germany, showing deliberately shaped, balanced throwing weapons. This is the moment the power dynamic genuinely starts to shift. A human with a sharpened, weighted spear could kill from a distance. Distance meant safety. Safety meant humans could start hunting animals that would have killed them in direct contact. There's a feedback loop running underneath all of this that's easy to miss. Brains and tools were making each other better. Cooked food from controlled fire delivered far more usable calories than raw meat and plants ever could. And the human brain is an incredibly expensive organ to run, burning through roughly 20% of our daily energy despite being a small fraction of our body weight. Extra calories from cooking helped fund the growth of Homo erectus brains, which averaged around 900 cubic centimeters, nearly double the brain size of earlier Australopithecus. Bigger brains meant better tool design and better group coordination, which meant more successful hunts, which meant more reliable calories, which funded even bigger brains in later species. It's a loop that took hundreds of thousands of years to spin up, but once it started, there was no competing species on the planet capable of matching the pace. But here's the part: most people get wrong when they imagine this story. The real weapon was never really the spear. It was the brain behind the spear, and more specifically, the ability to work as a coordinated group. A single human with a sharpened stick is not a threat to a mammoth. 20 humans, communicating with language, working from a shared plan, driving that mammoth toward a cliff edge or a hidden pit. That's an entirely different equation. Persistence hunting is one of the clearest examples of this cooperative advantage. Humans can't outrun a gazelle in a sprint, but humans can sweat, and most four-legged predators can't. By tracking an animal for hours in open heat, forcing it to run in bursts while overheating, hunter-gatherers could literally run prey to exhaustion and collapse. A hunting method still used by some traditional societies today. That's not a physical advantage. That's a strategic one, built entirely on endurance, patience, and coordinated tracking. Language accelerated everything. The ability to plan a hunt in advance, assign roles, warn each other about danger, and pass lessons down to the next generation meant humans didn't have to individually rediscover fire or spear throwing every generation. Knowledge compounded. And once knowledge starts compounding across generations, the gap between humans and every other animal on the planet only widens. By around 50,000 to 40,000 years ago, something remarkable happens in the archaeological record. Humans started systematically wiping out megafauna, the giant animals that had roamed continents for millions of years without a serious predator to fear. In Australia, giant kangaroos, car-sized wombats called diprotodons, and massive flightless birds vanished within a few thousand years of humans arriving on the continent. In the Americas, mammoths, giant ground sloths, and saber-toothed cats disappeared within a similar window after humans crossed over. Scientists still debate exactly how much of this was hunting versus climate change, but the timing lines up suspiciously well with human arrival on nearly every continent studied. For the first time in Earth's history, one species was systematically eliminating other species faster than evolution could adapt to counter it. Then came agriculture, starting around 12,000 years ago. This might be the most underrated turning point of all. Once humans could grow reliable food instead of chasing it, populations exploded. More people meant more specialization. Some people could now spend their lives making better weapons, breeding stronger domesticated animals, or building fortified settlements instead of everyone spending every waking hour just finding food. Domestication itself was a genius move, taking wolves and turning them into hunting and guard companions, taming horses into transportation and cavalry, breeding cattle for food security. We didn't just conquer wild animals. We recruited some of them. There's another piece of this that rarely gets enough credit: adaptability across wildly different climates. Most predators are specialists, built for one specific environment. A polar bear can't survive in the desert, and a jaguar can't hunt on tundra. Humans, armed with fire, clothing, and shelter-building knowledge, spread from the African savanna into Ice Age Europe, dense rainforests, and eventually the Arctic Circle, all within roughly 100,000 years. No other large mammal in history has managed to occupy that many radically different ecosystems simultaneously. That flexibility meant humans were never just competing with one set of predators in one habitat. We were out-adapting nearly every specialist species on every continent we reached, and from there, human dominance simply accelerated exponentially. Bronze weapons replaced stone, iron replaced bronze. Organized militaries replaced hunting parties. Within roughly 10,000 years, an eye blink in evolutionary terms, a species that once got dragged out of trees by leopards had built cities, domesticated the horse, invented gunpowder, and eventually developed weapons capable of ending life on Earth entirely. Today, the numbers make the transformation almost impossible to overstate. Wild lions kill roughly 22,000 large animals a year, worldwide, combined. Humans, through hunting, farming, and fishing, kill billions of animals annually, a scale so different it barely belongs on the same chart. We've pushed actual apex predators like tigers and wolves to a fraction of their historic range, not because we're stronger or faster, but because millions of years ago, a fragile, clawless primate figured out that a sharp rock, a controlled fire, and a coordinated group of friends could beat claws and fangs every single time. The most dangerous animal in history was never the one with the biggest teeth. It was the one that learned to work together. If you want to see how this same story continues into the age of empires and steel, make sure you're subscribed, because the next chapter is even wilder.